Hey guys, we have an interesting video to talk about today. So, we're going to be talking about the layoffs that are happening in the health departments in the United States following RFK Jr.'s appointment as Secretary of Health and Human Services. So, if you saw my last videos, you have seen that RFK Jr. is confirmed. He is officially the nation's Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. This is a really amazing moment for America. I believe that God is working in this country because things are just happening that I would have never thought possible. That uh, somebody could be in office in a position of power in America and talk about banning seed oils or even just the negative health effects of seed oils. Somebody talking about raw milk consumption, somebody fully aware of the corruption that happens in a lot of the nation's health agencies. So we have an ally on our side, and there are some mass layoffs going on. And we're going to talk about an article that was published talking about these layoffs. So the article is titled Mass Firings Continue Across the Nation's Health Agencies. The article says the Trump administration carried out more mass firings across the Health and Human Service Department this weekend, continuing a chaotic purge of the federal workforce that career officials and lawmakers warned would hurt key programs and impair efforts to track threats to public health. Okay, arguably, these people that were in power for many years are the threats to public health. The cuts hit staffers at the Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Several people with knowledge of the firings told Politico. The administration also terminated some staff at the office responsible for emergency preparedness and response. I mean, all of this sounds good to me. The firings were part of a culling of roughly 3,600 probationary employees across the sprawling department that began earlier this week, with terminations primarily at the CDC and National Institutes of Health. Okay, these are the exact people that tell you not to drink raw milk or not to eat the very foods that are healthy for you, not to get too much sunshine because it's bad for you. And these are the people who also promote eating processed foods. They are facing the consequences of their actions that they've been doing for the past 50 years. Trump officials on Friday cast the layoffs imposed by billionaire Elon Musk's unofficial. I love how they put unofficial. Like anytime these major news articles talk about things that are going on, and whether it's this new administration or really anything that goes against their agenda, they always include some kind of negative, condescending term, like unofficial, to make the other side lose credibility. Okay, the cuts involved officials working on Medicare and Medicaid initiatives aimed at improving care for beneficiaries at the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Intervention and at the CMS office that oversees Obamacare, as well as officials at the FDA, offices that regulate prescription drugs and medical devices. These right here, these are the number one people that need to go. If anything, this country can benefit greatly off of preventative medicine than treating people who are already sick. What is preventative medicine? It's being healthy from the beginning. It's building a strong immune system. It is living a more natural life outside, outdoors, getting dirty. That's good for you. It's not healthy for you to be clean and inside all the time. Even though that kind of lifestyle is tempting nowadays, it's not healthy. Building a strong immune system includes eating healthy foods without antibiotics or pesticides in them. In America, it is very hard to find food that doesn't have additives or antibiotics or pesticides. It involves not eating ultra-processed foods. So, home cooking, healthy ingredients, drinking products like raw milk, and eating a diet that has meat and saturated fat in it. And you'll probably be less predisposed to getting an illness if you're healthy from the beginning and have a strong immune system. The layoffs at the FDA included some staff who review medical device products. Three of the people with knowledge of the firing said, raising fears that they would slow the agency's ability to evaluate and approve new devices. I think we also need to ask ourselves why there is so much money being made in so many new medical devices. It just shows that there are new health problems arising. There is a plethora of health problems arising. And again, a lot of people are making money in creating new medical devices, new pharmaceutical drugs, new options, new outcomes. When in reality, there are so many things that are way cheaper and healthier for you that you could do that acts as preventative medicine, which is what RFK Jr. wants to do. And he's being attacked because these agencies that don't want preventative medicine, they want to continue profiting off of creating medical devices and hospital bills and pharmaceuticals. They profit off of sick people. These agencies have had customers for life. They don't want to lose their money. Okay, HHS Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response was also hit. Good. Prompting sharp criticism from public health experts who warned it would damage the government's frontline response to threats like bird flu. Okay, this is probably the dumbest statement I've ever heard. Okay, why was America the nation that had the most deaths from COVID? Our strategic preparedness and response agencies did not do a good job. Many people lost their lives. We have an extremely sick nation. These public health experts have not done their job. The administration is already expected to eliminate most of the CDC's public health fellows, some of whom received termination notices this weekend, including fellows at the Laboratory Leadership Service who do public health research, according to a former HHS official. Again, these agencies like the CDC and strategic preparedness and response teams tell you not to eat the very foods that are healthy for you. They've told us for years that eggs are bad for you, that saturated fat causes heart disease and cholesterol clogs your arteries. Information is now coming out that that's not true, that saturated fat in animal foods can be preventative in many cases. What's actually clogging arteries is vegetable and seed oils, ultra-processed foods, additives, preservatives. These are the kinds of things that are leading to autism and eczema and all of these kinds of chronic illnesses. You don't see these agencies often talking about these things, which is why RFK Jr. is coming in and letting them all go. They have not done their job at protecting the health of America and the health of the world. Next, on day one, the new HHS secretary is gutting the agencies that would be necessary to make America healthy again. These people have had years. Americans in power have had years to make America healthy again, and they haven't done it. Because of the information that they have pushed and the things they have heavily censored, like raw milk and red meat being healthy, and sunshine being good for you, Americans have become exponentially sicker and iller over time. Let's look at, for example, US obesity rates. So this chart compares US obesity rates since the 1960s. Look at it. They've tripled. So in 1960, we had 12-13% obesity rate. This is as of 2018, you have close to 45. That's crazy. What's causing this? Well, ultra-processed foods and high carbohydrate diets without enough protein and fat to keep you satiated. Okay, another chart measures obesity rates in youth. So again, about 1960 to around 2018, and this is just ridiculous. As you can see in the 1960s, and I'm sure even way before that, obesity in children was very rare. And now it's pretty common. I mean, look at this. Just in the modern time period between like 2005 to 2018, look at that. That is insane. That is not okay. Next, let's take a look at some information around cancer. So, cancer affects about 1 in 3 people today. In America, the lifetime risk of developing cancer is about, well, 39.3% of men and women will be diagnosed with cancer at some point during their lifetime. And that's as of 2021. In 2021, there were an estimated 17 million people living with cancer in the United States. This is ridiculous. These people have not done their job to keep Americans healthy. There are so many conflicts of interest. Let's look at this. This is just an example of what I'm saying. Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, two ultra-processed food companies. Coca-Cola support is a mostly a drink-based company. They also make Fairlife dairy products. So if you thought those were healthier, they're owned by Coca-Cola. PepsiCo also has drinks, of course, like Pepsi, but they also own a lot of processed food like chips, and they're the ones who bought Siete. They also own like Lay's and Doritos, Fritos. These two groups sponsored at least 96 groups from the American Diabetes Association to the American Heart Association. The products that Coca-Cola and PepsiCo make are very high in ultra-processed carbohydrates and seed oils, which are a primary cause of heart disease. Of course, sugar and processed carbohydrates for diabetes. So why would they be funding the studies? These are businesses that want to make money. They are funding the studies so they can twist information and tell you our products aren't that bad. The real problem is red meat. Fresh red meat from a cow. Oh, never eat that. It's so bad for you. But you can drink your Diet Coke in the morning and eat your Doritos with Wonder Bread and processed meat, and you'll be fine. It's ridiculous and it's backwards. So let's look at somebody else. Mike Taylor, head of the FDA from 2010 to 2016. He worked with the agrochemical company Monsanto. Isn't it interesting? So, American lawyer who's played leadership roles in the U.S. Food and Drug Administration also worked for the agrochemical company Monsanto, which produces Roundup, which is a pesticide sprayed on wheat and other crops in America. There's a great documentary called Food Inc., Food Incorporated. It features Joe Salatin. It was made probably 20 years ago. But it's a really good documentary that kind of goes deeper into the corruption of the food industry, how the food industry and the FDA and conflicts of interest all work together to make the American food system. So, very interesting that somebody who worked with chemicals also headed the FDA. And the FDA tends to kind of protect these industries. And that's the norm. A lot of people in the FDA either go on to work or have worked in the past ultra processed food companies or chemical companies like Monsanto. All in all, I'm sorry for the people who lost their jobs. That's not easy, and it sucks that people are losing their jobs. A lot of the people that work for these organizations like CDC or different branches of the current health department are not bad people. They're just ordinary people working a job. The unfortunate thing is the companies and the branches of government they work for are corrupt, flooded with conflicts of interest, flooded with excess spending, flooded with misinformation. And that is why these agencies have to be closed down. I hope that these people get another job somewhere. I hope that times aren't too hard for them and that they can recover quickly. I really do, because it's not their fault. It is the government's fault, and it is these processed food companies that have operated like this for years without being held accountable. Now they're being held accountable and everybody's crying about it. But really, we should be rejoicing that we are bringing health in the name of God back to our country and that we have brave leaders who are willing to fight and make changes. It's a very dangerous thing to do because RFK Jr. is going after some of the most profitable industries in the world, pharmaceutical companies, ultra-processed food companies. Interesting that those are the most profitable businesses in the world. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. So thank you so much for watching.